Okay, hello guys, especially to grade 9 students and to mathematics teacher. This video of mine may help you in understanding the conditions of a quadrilateral to be a parallelogram. Okay, first we are going to define what is a quadrilateral. A quadrilateral is a closed geometric figure in general and a polygon in particular with four sides. And a parallelogram is a special kind of quadrilateral with two pairs of opposite parallel sides. Now, aside from the definition of a parallelogram, in order for a quadrilateral to be a parallelogram, it must have or must possess six general characteristics of a quadrilateral to be a parallelogram. So here are the general characteristics of a quadrilateral to be a parallelogram. So these are the six. Okay, a parallelogram must contain two pairs of opposite parallel sides. The parallelogram must contain two pairs of opposite congruent sides. A parallelogram of opposite angles must be congruent. In a parallelogram, consecutive angles must be supplementary. When we say supplementary, the sum of the two angles must be 180. Diagonals bisect each other, and diagonals separate the parallelogram into two congruent triangles. So these six properties of a parallelogram are present, or the kinds of parallelogram, these six must be present. These six properties, whatever kind of parallelogram is that, these six properties must be in that kind of parallelogram. So these properties of parallelogram will be more understood if you are going to use a figure. So let's have a parallelogram A, B, C, D. Now, to name a parallelogram, you are going to name a parallelogram or a quadrilateral the vertices, the consecutive vertices of a figure. For example, we have a parallelogram ABCD. You can have it parallelogram DABC. You can have it parallelogram CDAB as long as they are consecutive vertices of the figure. Okay? So we are going to apply the properties of a parallelogram in this figure. So first is two pairs of opposite parallel sides. So a parallelogram must have two pairs of opposite parallel sides. So side AB and side CD are opposite and they are parallel sides. Side BC and side AD, they are opposite sides and they must be parallel. Okay? Next, two pairs of opposite congruent side. So side AB and side CD are opposite and they must be congruent in order for it to be a parallelogram. And side BC and side AD are opposite sides and they must be congruent. Next, opposite angles are congruent. So angle A and angle B. So angle A and angle B are opposite angles, therefore they must be congruent. It means that the measure of angle A must be equal to the measure of angle C. And angle B and angle C are opposite angles, therefore their measure must be congruent. Okay, next, consecutive sides must be consecutive angles must be supplementary. So angle A and angle B are supplementary angles, therefore angle A plus angle B equals 180. Angle B and angle C are also supplementary, so therefore the sum of B and C must be equal to 180. And the same thing with angle C and angle D, they are consecutive angles. Therefore, the sum of these two angles must be equal to 180. And angle D and angle A are also consecutive angles. Therefore, the sum of their angles must also be equal to 180. Next is diagonals bisect each other. So, if we are going to connect the vertex of angle B to the vertex of angle D, you can now have diagonal BD. And if you are going to connect the vertex of angle A to the vertex of angle C, you will now have the diagonal AC. And then, let the point of intersection between the two diagonals be E. Wow, ayaw sumunod. BE. Okay. So therefore, if BD bisect, if diagonal BD bisect diagonal AC, therefore AE, this segment must be congruent to CE, this segment. And if AC bisect diagonal BD, therefore DE, this segment must be congruent to this segment. So that is what we mean by diagonals bisect each other. The last is diagonals separate the parallelogram into two congruent triangles, or diagonals form two congruent triangles. So if we are going to take diagonal BD, this triangle must be congruent to this triangle. If you are going to take this diagonal AC, this triangle must be congruent to this triangle. So, those are the properties of a parallelogram. So now, we are going to apply these properties to the different kinds of parallelogram. So we have four kinds of parallelogram. We have the rectangle, the square, the rhombus, and a rhomboid. So here are the kinds of parallelogram. Okay. In order for us to determine that parallelogram is a rectangle, that parallelogram must possess two distinct characteristics. One is consecutive sides are not congruent, and the other one is consecutive angles are not congruent. Now, side AB and side BC are consecutive sides, but they are not congruent. Side BC and side CD are consecutive sides, but they are not congruent. And side CD to side AD are consecutive sides, but they are not congruent. The same thing with side AD and side AB are consecutive sides, but they are not congruent. Okay, property number 2 of a rectangle. In order for a parallelogram to be a rectangle, the consecutive angles must be congruent. So angle A and angle B are consecutive angles. So angle A must be equal to angle B. Then angle B and angle C are consecutive angles. So therefore, angle B must be equal to angle C. And angle C and angle D are also consecutive angles. So therefore, angle C must be equal to angle D. And angle D and angle C are consecutive angles. So therefore, angle A must be equal to angle D. So those are the distinct properties of a parallelogram to be a rectangle. Now, please bear in mind that if the two consecutive angles of a parallelogram are congruent, then all of the angles must be right angles. So this is 90, this must be 90, this must be 90, this must be 90 in order for us, because the sum total of all the angles in a parallelogram or in a quadrilateral must always be equal to 360. So those are the properties of a parallelogram to be a rectangle. Next is we have the square. Now, a square has also its distinct properties. In order for a parallelogram to be a square, consecutive sides must be congruent. Consecutive angles must also be congruent. Okay, consecutive sides. So, AB and BC are consecutive sides. So, AB must be congruent to BC. Side BC and side CD are consecutive sides. So, therefore, side BC must be congruent to side CD. And side CD is consecutive sides of side AD. So therefore, side CD must be congruent to side DA. And side DA is consecutive sides of side AB. Therefore, side AB must be congruent to side AB. Okay, consecutive angles are congruent. So angle A must be and angle B are consecutive angles. Therefore, angle A must be congruent to angle B. Angle B and angle C are consecutive angles. Therefore, angle B must be equal to angle C. And angle C and angle D are consecutive angles. Therefore, angle C is congruent to angle D. The same thing with angle D and angle A are consecutive angles. Therefore, angle D must be equal to angle A. So those are the distinct properties of a parallelogram to be a square. Next, we have the rhombus. The rhombus has also its own two characteristics or properties in order for a parallelogram to be a rhombus. Okay? We have consecutive sides are not congruent. So side AD and side AB are consecutive sides and they are congruent. Side AB and side BC are consecutive sides and they must be congruent. Side BC and side CD are consecutive sides and they must be congruent. Ang side CD and side DA are consecutive sides and they must be congruent. So side DA and side AB are consecutive sides and they must be also congruent. Okay. Consecutive angles are congruent. So angle are not congruent. So angle A and angle B are consecutive angles but they are not congruent. Angle B and angle C are consecutive angles but they must be not congruent. Angle C and angle D are consecutive angles but they must not be congruent. Angle D and angle A are consecutive angles but they must not be congruent in order for a parallelogram to be a rhombus. Okay? Next is we have the rhomboid. In order for a parallelogram to be a rhomboid, a parallelogram must have consecutive sides must not be congruent and the consecutive angles must not be congruent. So we have consecutive sides. So side AB and side BC are consecutive sides but they are not congruent. Side BC and side CD are consecutive sides but they are not congruent. Side CD and side DA are consecutive sides but they are not congruent. Ang side DA and side AB are consecutive sides and they are not congruent. Okay? The second property of a parallelogram to be a rhomboid is consecutive angles are not congruent. So angle A and angle B are consecutive angles and they must not be congruent. Angle B and angle C are consecutive angles and they must not be congruent. Angle C and angle D are consecutive angles and they must not be congruent. And angle D and angle A are also consecutive angles but they must not be congruent in order for a parallelogram to be a rhomboid. Okay? Those are the properties of each kind of parallelogram in order for that particular parallelogram be identified, it has its two distinct properties. Okay? Now we are going to apply the properties of a parallelogram in order for us to determine or to find the missing part of that particular parallelogram. Okay? For example, we have sample problems involving parallelograms. We were given a square ABCD with perimeter of 48 units. We are told to find the number of units of BD, that is diagonal BD, in simplest radical form. Okay, we were given perimeter equals 48, and we must remember that the formula in finding the perimeter of a square is equal to 4 times the side. Okay, take a look on the triangle BAD. Angle A is a right angle, and opposite the right angle with this side BD is the hypotenuse. So therefore, in order for us to determine the length of BD, you are going to apply the Pythagorean theorem. What does it state? The Pythagorean theorem states that the square of the hypotenuse, that is c squared, is equal to a squared plus b squared. That is, the square of the hypotenuse is equal to the sum of the squares of the other two legs. So BC and AD are the legs, and BD is the hypotenuse in this case. So we are going to solve. So BD, BD quantity squared must be equal to the side. The side, this is the hypotenuse. So the side is BC and CD. So BC and CD. So BC squared and CD squared. But the perimeter, so we have the perimeter is equal to 4. 36. Is that 36? Just a minute. So 48. So the perimeter is 48 units. And the formula in finding the perimeter of a square is perimeter is equal to 4 sides. Substituting the value of the perimeter, that is 48, equals 4 side. Dividing both equation by 4. Cancel out 4 on the right side. 48 divided by 4 is 12, equals the side. So this is now the side. So you are now going to substitute it in this formula. So this is BD squared must be equal to BC is 12, quantity squared, plus CD is 12, quantity squared. So BD squared is equal to square of 12 is 144. Square plus the square of 12 is 144. So BD now is equal to 144 plus 144 is 288. So extract the square root. So BD extract the square root of 288. 288. So BD must be equal to, get the product of 288, wherein one product is a perfect square. So what is that perfect square? That is 144 times 2. So you have now BD now is equal to, the square root of 144 is 12. So 12, the square root of 2. So this is now the length of BD. It is in simplest radical form. Next, we have parallelogram ABCD, sides as marked. Find AD. Now in this case, we are going to apply the property of a parallelogram that opposite sides of a parallelogram are congruent. So you are going to have DC must be equal to AB. And you are going to substitute DC, which is 3x plus 5, must be equal to 6x minus 10. Okay, so we are going to have it. So we have 3x plus 5 is equal to 6x minus 10. So collecting like terms, transpose negative 10 to the other side, it becomes positive 10 plus 5 must be equal to 6x. Transpose 3x to the other side, it becomes negative 3x. So 10 plus 5 is 15, must be equal to 6x plus negative 3x. You will have 3x. Dividing both sides of the equation by 3, cancel out 3 on the other side. 15 divided by 3 is 5 equals x. Substitute now the value of x in the equation of dA, which is equal to 4x minus 5. So AD. So AD is equal to, what is it? 4x minus 5. So we have 4x minus 5. So AD now is equal to 4. The value of x is 5 minus 5. So you have AD is equal to 4 times 5 is 20 minus 5. Therefore, AD equals 15. Okay, next. So we have number 3, where we're given a triangle mat with diagonals 36, and you are told to find the value of x and y. So in this case, we are going to apply the property of a parallelogram that the diagonals bisect each other. In this case, ME, so this one, ME, this side must be equal to this side. So that is ME must be equal to TE. And TM is equal to ME plus TE. Therefore, ME is equal to 1/2 of TM. The same thing with TE must also be 1/2 of TM. So we are going to solve. But TM, the diagonal, TM is equal to 36. So therefore, ME and TE is equal to 1/2 of 36. So therefore, ME must be equal to 18 and TE must also be equal to 18. Now, substitute. ME is 2x plus 4y. So ME is equal to, substitute ME, which is equal to 18. So ME is equal to 2x plus 4y. So 2x plus 4y. 2x plus 4y. Substitute ME, which is 18. So 18 is equal to 2x plus 4y divided by 2, you will have 9 is equal to 18 divided by 2 is 9, 2x divided by 2 is x, 4 plus 4y divided by 2 is 2y, and ME is equal, TE, TE. So TE must be equal to, this is TE, must be, so TE must be equal to 4x minus y. So we have 4x minus y. Substitute TE, which is 18, equals 4x minus y. So we have to erase this part. Okay, now we have now the equation 9 equals x plus 2y and 18 equals 4x minus y. 4x minus y. Okay. So if we are going to find the value of x by elimination by addition. We are going to eliminate, in this case, we are going to eliminate y. In order for us to eliminate y, we are going to multiply this equation by 2 because there is 2 in y. So you will have 18 times 2 is 36. 36. So 36 is equal to 2 times 4x is 8x minus 2 times y is 2y. So we have to erase this one. Okay, now, so we have 36 equals 8x minus 2y plus 9 equals 9 plus equals x plus 2y. So you will have now cancel out now negative 2y plus 2y be cancelled. You will have now 36 plus 9 is 45 is equal to 8x plus x is 9x. So divide it by 9. Cancel out 9 on the right side. You will now have 45 divided by 9 is 5 equals x. Substitute x in the equation of any equation. Okay, for example, substitute x in this equation. Substitute x in this equation. So you have 9. So you have now the value of x. 9, x is 5 plus 2y Then transpose 5 to the other side, it becomes 9 minus 5 equals 2y. Then 9 minus 5 is 4 equals 2y. Therefore, dividing the equation by 2, so 4 divided by 2 is 2 equals, cancel 2 on the right side, equals y. So the value of y is 2 and the value of x is 5. Okay, number 4, we have parallelogram DEFG, angle S as marked. Find the measure of parallelogram DEFG, angles as marked. We are going to find the measure of angle F. So in this case, we have to apply the properties of a parallelogram. Opposite angles are congruent. So angle D and angle F are opposite angles. So therefore, whatever the measure of angle D must be equal to the measure of angle F. So that is, angle D must be equal to angle F. Okay? And we have also to apply the properties that consecutive consecutive angles are supplementary. So that is, angle A and angle D are supplementary. So that is the measure of angle D plus the measure of angle E must be equal to 180. So we are going to solve. So angle E plus angle D must be equal to 180. So we are going to substitute. Angle E is 5x. So angle A is 5x plus angle D is 2x plus 12. So angle D is 2x plus 12 equals 180. So 5x plus 2x is 7x equals 180. Transpose 12 to the other side, it becomes negative 12. So 7x is equal to 180 minus 12 is 168. Divide by 7. Cancel out 7 on the right side, on the left side. So therefore, you will have x is equal to 16 divided by 7 is 2. X is equal to 16 divided by 7 is 2. Then 2 times 7 is 14. 16 minus 14 is 2. Bring down 8. It becomes 28. 28 divided by 7 is 24. You will have 24. 28 divided by 7 is 4. And then you are told to find the value of angle D now. So angle D, this one. Angle D, the value of angle D is this one. So you are going to substitute. Let's erase this. Okay. So angle D is equal to 2. Substitute x, which is 24, plus 12. So D now is equal to 24 times 2 is 48 plus 12. Therefore, angle D, this is 12, angle D is equal to 48 plus 12 is 60. Therefore, angle F must also be equal to 60. Okay, the last property that we are going to apply for the rhombus is the diagonals bisect each other. So in this case, we are going to apply, we can say, since diagonals of a parallelogram bisect each other, in this case, AE, this side, must be congruent to CE. And you have now the equation that is AE must be equal to EC. So we are going to solve. So we have AE must be equal to CE. And AE is 2/3 x. So we have 2/3 x equals, and CE is equal to x minus 10. So we have x minus 10. Okay, cross multiply, you have 2x is equal to 3 times x minus 10. So you will have 2x equals 3 times x is 3x. 3 times negative 10 is negative 30. So collecting like terms, transposing 30 to the other side, it becomes 30 is equal to 2x, 3x minus 2x. So you have 30 now is equal to x. 3x minus 2x is 30. So you have the value of x equals 30. So that is now the value of x. Okay, for the activity, you are going to apply the properties to the different kind of parallelogram in order for you to determine the missing parts. Okay, that is all for today. And please don't forget to subscribe so that if I have latest video, you can watch it in your convenient time. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope that this video helps you in solving conditions of a quadrilateral to be a parallelogram. Okay, this is number 1. Use the parallelogram below to find the length of segment BC and segment AD. So you have the figure. The next is use the parallelogram below to find the length of segment AC and segment BD. So you are going to apply the segment diagonals bisect each other. So next is two adjacent angles of a this is not adjacent angle, this must be consecutive angles. It must be two consecutive angles, two consecutive. So it must be two in this is no, this is not the one. This is the one. It must be two consecutive. Typographical error. It must be two consecutive angles of a parallelogram are in the ratio of 2:3. Find the measure of each angles. The number 4. In the adjoining figure, ABCD is a parallelogram in which angle A equals 75. Find the measure of each of the angles B, angle B, angle C, and angle D. Next, we have in the adjoining figure, ABCD is a parallelogram in which angle BAD is equal to 75 and angle DBC equals 60, and calculate angle CDB and angle ADB. So in this case, CDB, angle CDB, this angle and this angle must be congruent to this angle. And this angle must be congruent to this angle. And this angle must be congruent to this angle. So this must be congruent to that. So that is 60. If you have 60, if this is 60, alternate interior angles are congruent. So you can have now the measurement of this angle. How will you get? The total measurement of all the angles in a triangle must be equal to 180. So you are going to subtract 180 minus 60 minus 75. The remaining is equal to the angle E. So if you have angle E now, you can solve this and then add the two and this angle, so it must be equal to 180 in order for you to check your work. Okay? Next, we have in the adjoining figure, ABCD is a parallelogram with angle CAD. So angle CAD is equal to 40. Angle BAC is 35. And angle COD is 65. You are going to find the measurement of angle ABD. So ABD, this angle. And then you are told to find the measurement of angle BDC, this angle. And you are told to find the angle of ACB, this angle. And you are told to find the measurement of angle CBD, so this angle. Okay? Next, so in order for you to determine this angle, this is a linear pair, and the measurement of the angle pair must be equal to 180. So in order for you to get this value, angle COB, you are going to subtract 180 minus 65 is equal to this angle. Okay, this angle ACD, it must be congruent. This angle must be congruent to this angle because alternate interior angles are congruent. Okay, that is how then follow on how to you are going to add this one, this angle, and this angle must be equal to 180. So this angle and this angle are vertical angles, they must be congruent. Okay, so continue. And then number 6, 7. In the adjoining figure, ABCD is a parallelogram AO. So this is AO. And BO are the bisectors of angle A and angle B respectively. Prove that angle AOB. So we are going to prove that angle AOB, this angle is 90 degrees. Okay. Next. The ratio of the two sides of a parallelogram is 4:3. If its perimeter is 56 centimeters, find the length of each side. So perimeter of the two ratio, so that is 4x. So in order to get the value of find the length of it, to get the value of its side, you are going to get the value of x first. So that is, you are going to form an equation based on this given equation, based on this given condition. You have to add 4x plus 3x must be equal to 56. 3x plus 4x must be equal to 56. Add and then divide and then you will get x. Whatever you find the value of x, substitute it in the 4x, the other one side, and 3x the other side once you have the value of x. Then number 9, the length of a rectangle is 8 centimeters and each of its diagonal measures 10. Find the breadth. So when we say the breadth is the width. So this is find CD. This is. So you are going to use the Pythagorean theorem. The Pythagorean theorem. That is CA squared must be equal to CB squared plus AB squared. Okay? And for number 10, in the adjacent figure, ABCD is a rhombus whose diagonals AC and BD intersect at point O. If side AB is 10 centimeters and diagonal BD equals 16 centimeters, find the length of diagonal AC. So we say that one property states that diagonals of a parallelogram bisect each other. Okay? Okay, that is all for today. Please don't forget to subscribe if you so that if I have latest video to come, you will be the first to watch it in your convenient time. Thank you very much and have a nice day. Ay nako, nawala na naman. Ay nako, ano sa'yo? Hello guys, especially to grade 9 students and also to mathematics teacher. This video of mine might help you to understand on the conditions of a quadrilateral to be a parallelogram. Okay? So the first is we are going to define what is a quadrilateral. A quadrilateral is a closed geometric figure in general and a polygon in particular with 4 sides. And a parallelogram is a kind of quadrilateral with 2 pairs of opposite parallel sides. Now, we have properties in order for a quadrilateral to be a parallelogram. So one is 2 pairs of opposite sides are parallel, 2 pairs of opposite congruent sides, opposite angles of a parallelogram are congruent, consecutive angles of a parallelogram are supplementary. When we say supplementary, the sum of the 2 angles must be equal to 180. Diagonals bisect each other. Diagonals separate the parallelogram into 2 congruent triangles, or diagonals form 2 right triangles. Okay, those are the properties of a parallelogram. In order for us to understand these properties, we are going to apply to the figure. Okay, here is the figure. We have parallelogram ABCD. Now, the first property is a pair of opposite parallel sides. So we have segment AB and segment CD are parallel, opposite, and they are parallel sides. The same thing with segment BC and segment AD, they are opposite and they are parallel. Next, the second property is opposite sides are congruent. So AB and CD are opposite sides and they are congruent. And are opposite and they must also be congruent. Okay, the third property, opposite angles are congruent. So that is angle A and angle C are opposite angles. Therefore, their measurement must be equal. Or A must be congruent to angle C. The same thing with angle B and angle D are opposite angles. Therefore, the measurement of angle B must be equal to the measurement of angle D. Okay, next property is consecutive sides are supplementary, meaning consecutive angles are supplementary, meaning the sum of these two angles must be equal to 180. So angle A and angle B are consecutive angles. Therefore, angle A plus angle B must be equal to 180. And angle B and angle C are also consecutive angles. Therefore, angle B plus angle C must be equal to 180. The same thing with angle C and angle D are consecutive angles. Therefore, angle D plus angle C must be equal to 180. And angle D and angle A are also consecutive angles. And angle A plus angle D must also be equal to 180. Next, diagonals bisect each other. Now, if you are going to connect the vertex of angle B to the vertex of angle D, so we are now going to connect. So we have now diagonal BD. And if you are going to connect the vertex of angle A to the vertex of angle C, you have now diagonal AC. And let the point of intersection be equal to E. Okay, so meaning if AC, segment AC bisect diagonal BD, therefore DE, segment DE must be congruent to segment BE. And if diagonal BD bisect diagonal AC, therefore AE must be congruent to CE. Okay, that is what we mean by diagonal bisect each other. The last property of a parallelogram, diagonals separate a parallelogram into two congruent triangles, or diagonals form right two congruent triangles. If you are going to take diagonal BD, so this diagonal to triangle BDAB, this triangle must be congruent to triangle DAB. So this triangle. But if you are going to take diagonal AC, you have triangle ABC, ADC must be congruent to this triangle ABC. So that is what we mean by diagonals separate two parallelograms into two congruent triangles. So those are the properties of a parallelogram. Now, we have 6 kinds of parallelogram: the rectangle, the square, the rhombus, and the rhomboid. So those properties of a parallelogram that we have discussed must also be in the form. So the 6 properties must be present to other. Ay, nako.